All out chaos is breaking out in prisons all across the state of New York right now. Because for the past few days, correctional officers and correctional officials have been on strike. And this is affecting every single prison in the state of New York. I believe there are 42 prisons in the state of New York to be exact, and every single one of them has been affected. Literally, right now, at the time of this recording, some of these prisons are basically totally unmanned. No staff at all, no guards, nothing. And a few of these prisons have already been taken over by inmates. In fact, they had to send special units into one of these prisons this morning to retake the prison from the inmates. And this is not really making headline news. Not many people are talking about this, but every single prison in the state of New York is affected. And the strike has already been going on for a few days. But for the first couple of days, it was kind of quiet. All right? When I saw the news at first, I was like, well, I don't think this will end well. But you know, the news travels a little slower in prison. So over the first couple of days, I think a lot of the prisoners at these facilities, they were starting to notice, hey, where's the guards? Why are we so severely understaffed right now? Where is everyone? What's going on? And then, of course, they're probably turning on the TV in their cells. They see the local news covering the strikes and they realize, wait, there's no guards in this prison. And all hell is breaking loose, folks. All hell is breaking loose. Mind you, some of these facilities, they have a few people in them still because not every single employee is taking part in the strikes. So some of these facilities still have like 5 or 10 guards working, even though they're supposed to have, a lot more. But there's still some people trying to do their job. And a lot of these people have been forced to abandon their positions and literally flee from the jails. So it's getting crazy right now. And like I said, not much media coverage. But let's go ahead and roll this clip from the local news, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
An early morning emergency at Riverview Correctional calls for state teams to come in from Albany to bring the prison back under state control. Overnight, tensions bubbled between inmates and corrections officers, enough to where the 15 to 20 staff members didn't feel safe and ended up leaving the dormitories and going into a secure administration building. There, they called for specialized teams from Governor and Albany to help. In the meantime, the close to 500 inmates were alone in the dormitories. By 7 o'clock this morning, the facility was back under state control. Meanwhile, here's what the state says happened, that the COs vacated their posts, leaving the dorms unsupervised, and again criticized the illegal strikes that have been happening at prisons all across the state. And in fact, the demonstration is happening again today outside of Riverview Correctional. That's where 7 News reporter Thomas Caffarella gave us this report.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Things were tense in Riverview Correctional Facility earlier today. Now that seems to have calmed down as protesters continue to hold the line and advocate for better working conditions. This crowd today is made up of current and former corrections officers along with their family. Behind me, you can see a giant pile of wood for fires to help keep themselves warm. And just over there as well, there is plenty of food for these protesters to continue advocating for better working conditions. You might have just heard as well, there are cars honking all the time along here to also show their support. These guys have a lot of support going on in the community.
One thing that is very clear here, and this has been clear for a while, is that New York is in desperate need of new leadership. You see, these correctional officers aren't striking for just no reason. They're striking because of new laws and stuff that Kathy Hochul has put in place, like the HALT Act, amongst other things. And these correctional officers claim that this endangers them. This puts them in more danger. They also claim that they've been forced to work overtime, that all of the prisons are understaffed. And just think about that. The prisons were already understaffed before the strikes, so imagine how understaffed they are now. And like I already said, some of these prisons literally have no one working in them right now. Total chaos. And people on the outside, they've lost contact with a lot of their family members who are locked up in these prisons. And rumors are flying all over social media that a lot of inmates have been killed by other inmates during these riots, during these takeovers, because there's total lawlessness right now. There's no guards. There's no one to come to your rescue if things get crazy or wild. And listen, people get killed every day in prison regardless. But imagine now when there's no one watching. So, some of these people locked up are taking this opportunity to go ahead and attack their rivals, their enemies. And there's rumors right now that there's all types of prisoners who have lost their life, over the past few days. Now, of course, those rumors are not confirmed. I haven't seen any official evidence of that. I do know that people are trying to get in touch with people on the inside and they can't. I do know that, but I haven't seen evidence that, we've had a lot of people get killed. But right now, we don't really know what's going on in these prisons because the guards and the people who are overwatching these prisons aren't even in the prison. So the prisoners are literally running the asylum. The prisoners are literally running the prison right now in many cases. And for the most part, you're not seeing much media coverage of this, and you think you would, but we're not. So they're going to try to sweep this under the rug like this isn't happening, but it's getting more and more serious by the minute. And by the time I wake up tomorrow, by the time you wake up tomorrow, there may be another prison that was taken over. We don't exactly know what's going on in these places right now. But, prison's already a dangerous place for the people inside of the prison. Now it's much more dangerous because they have no one there overseeing things. And I don't know what's going to happen when they try to send in a lot of these guards to retake the prison. There's going to be a lot of violence and people getting hurt there as well. So it's just an all-around freaking mess of a situation right now. And I definitely do not see this ending well. Hopefully they get in control of this situation and they get in control of this situation quick. And mind you, folks, it's not like we're dealing with one prison, okay? We've seen stories like this before. We've heard of crazy situations where the inmates try to take over the prisons. We've seen stories like this before, but usually it's taking place at like one facility. We're looking at a situation where we have 42 different prisons that all are, for the most part, besides a couple of them, are kind of unmanned right now. So they don't have to get in control of one prison. They have to reclaim control of 40 prisons. And that's going to be hard. And who are they going to bring in to do this? Of course, they're probably going to try to bring in the National Guard. But you got to understand, you have to be trained a certain way to really deal with some of these prisoners and stuff. You don't just send anybody in there. So, I'm glad I don't have to deal with this. You guys let me know what you think about this, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.